Hello everyone, and welcome to my classic Season of Discovery Priest leveling guide. In this guide, I'll talk about different tips and tricks, the talent trees I like to level with, how I will gear up as I'm also gaining a ton of experience, and last but not least, the best race for each individual faction. When I level up, then I like to use 3 different builds. One where you mainly use your wand to deal damage, another one where you'll be focused on doing shadow damage, and the last one where you spend a lot of points into the holy tree to mainly deal damage with your smite and holy fire. So the first build is also the one that I prefer the most. This is where you spend 5 points into improving your wand damage, so you get a total of 25% increased damage with your wands. This is going to be so insane in the beginning, as you will never go out of mana, so you can always heal or cast spells. For example, your Shadow Word Pain. Next, you spend points into the Shadow Tree, but I never spend any points into Blackout. It's way better to start spending points into Spirit Tab. When you max out this, then there's a 100% chance that your spirit will be doubled for 15 seconds, and during this duration, your mana will also continue to regenerate at a 50% rate while casting. In the next row, you have 2 decent options, either to spend points into Shadow Focus or to improve your Shadow Word Pain. You don't really want to reduce your threat generation. For example, if you solo level, then this will be useless, and you would rather like to go for something like this at max level when you need to do higher level dungeons or maybe even your first raid. So what I tend to do is to spend 3 points into Shadow Focus so the targets pretty much never resist my shadow spells, and then I've spent 2 points into improving the duration of my Shadow Word Pain. Next, I'll reach level 25 and then I can spend a point into Mind Flay, or maybe respec into something else. In my next build, I spent most of my points into the Holy Tree, so I don't spend any points into wand specialization. However, I do spend the first 5 points into the Shadow Tree to get Spirit Tab, and then I will be spending points into the Holy Tree. The first 5 points I will actually spend into increasing my crit, so I don't go for healing focus. Also because I don't plan to cast many heals, I would rather like to kill the enemies quicker, and on top of this I don't need improved renew because I've shield and already a decent amount of healing. So holy specialization is what I always choose. Then in the next row I go for Divine Fury so I can cast my smite, holy fire and other things a bit quicker. This is also way better than spending points into spell warding, as this will only benefit me when I'm going to fight casters, and this is not gonna allow me to kill an enemy a bit quicker. Why I sometimes like this build is because then I'm not forced to use my wand. Instead, I'll be able to cast a lot more, for example my smite and holy fire, and I will still benefit from Spirit Tab whenever I kill an enemy. The last build I like to use is where I go full shadow. 5 points into Spirit Tab, so in the beginning I try to get many items with Spirit. In the next row I'll then go for reducing their resistance by 6%, so spending 3 points into Shadow Focus, and then 2 points into improved Shadow Word Pain. So by the time I reach level 20, I can also unlock Mind Flay right away to deal a lot of additional damage. And then all the remaining points will be spent into reducing the cooldown of my Mind Blast. Next up is some useful tips and tricks as a priest. This class can get so many new spells in classic Season of Discovery, for example Shadow Word Death, an instant attack that will deal a high amount of damage and also deal damage to the priest if you don't manage to kill the target with the spell. But why the spell is so insane, at least in PvP, is mainly because you will take damage. So if a target is about to CC you, for example with a polymorph, then you can use Shadow Word Death on the target, and because polymorph lands and there's a delay on the damage you take, then the damage will also break the polymorph effect. The next one is not only for priest, but for any player that uses a wand. When you get a new wand, it might be an upgrade, but you gotta remember that different enemies might be immune to different schools or have resistance. So even though you get a big upgrade, then I would highly recommend you to always keep your previous wand, just in case you have to fight an enemy with a lot of resistance. Talking about wands, then I would also highlight something that is quite annoying. If you spam your wand ability, then it might also cancel the next shoot. Instead, what you should do would be to make a macro that says /cast shoot. Why this is going to be important is because what you can now do is to spam this. It will continue to cast your wand and try to cast it as fast as possible without cancelling the next one. When you're going to level up your priest, then I would also highly recommend you to head into dungeons so you can collect your healer and DPS gear on your way to 25. The first dungeon I would head into would be Dead Mines, because in Dead Mines we can collect 4 amazing items. A staff with stamina, intellect and spirit, a chest with a bit of stamina but a lot of spirit, and even a ring with agility, but the second stat being intellect, and this is actually a lot of intellect at this level. And you can also get yourself a wand, so if you have spent 5 points into wand specialization in the discipline tree, then this will also benefit you a lot on your way to 25. Next, I would head into Wailing Cairns, where I would try to obtain this ring from the final boss. And when you kill him, you also get the glowing shard that starts a short quest chain. When you complete the final part, you get these amazing cloth shoulders with 3 stamina and 6 intellect. The last dungeon you should head into is Shadowfang Keep in Silverpine Forest. All of these cloth items provide so much intellect, and the chest also a lot of stamina and spirit. And don't forget to also craft the spider cell boots if you have leveled up your own tailoring, else find a tailor right away. So what is the best race to choose? In Classic Season of Discovery, all priests might be able to unlock Fear Ward from a rune. If this is the case, then Dwarf Priest won't be as overpowered as they used to be in Classic. But here you can see what each race usually unlock at level 10 and 20. As a Dwarf, you get Desperate Prayer, an ability you can use to instantly heal yourself. You also get Fear Ward, this you can cast on yourself and other party members. Super useful in dungeons and raids where there's fear mechanics. As a human, you also get Desperate Prayer and even a new spell, Feedback. Whenever someone successfully casts a spell at you, you'll drain some of their mana and do shadow damage equal to the amount you burned. As a Night Elf Priest, you unlock Star Shards, but this spell isn't that great. It's honestly gonna be better just to apply a Shadow with Pain and use your wand. And Elune's Grace won't really benefit your leveling that much. Both of these racials will also not benefit your raid, so at level 25 they're pretty much also going to be useless. As a Troll Priest, your racials isn't too bad. For PvP I like them a lot, and Hex of Weakness is quite good in PvE as well. Undead is definitely still useful, especially if you plan to play as a Shadow Priest. The Wiring Plague is an ability you can use to add an additional damage over time. There is of course a long cooldown, but it can be quite useful. So like I mentioned earlier, it will be important to do the different dungeon quests to gain more experience but also amazing loot as you're leveling up. But the thing is that some of these will also require you to travel around or do different pre-quests before you can acquire them. Therefore I use an add-on to make sure I do all the necessary things. The name of this add-on is Rested Experience, and there's a free trial version you can download right now by using the link below the video. It also comes with a leveling guide, just in case you don't know how to level. And of course a full version you can also purchase with a lot of other features. For example, in the future, how to acquire your most important runes at level 25. If you wish to get the full version, you can even get a discount by using the link, and of course also applying my discount code GuideMMO. But the main reason why I mentioned the add-on was simply just so you knew where to pick up the different dungeon quests, what pre-quests you might also need to do, so you can plan all of this in your level 1 to 25 route. If you're mainly interested in Classic Season of Discovery, then on my channel you can find a ton of different videos, and soon also a lot more, for example tips and tricks, gold making, and even leveling guides. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then I would highly recommend you to also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time I post a video.